public to address the commission on this item. So if you would like to speak, now is the time to raise your hand. So please raise your hand if you would like to address the commission. And we'll kind of give a second for the delay, see how many folks would like to address the commission. I want to give you all plenty of time to get in on the public hearing. So again, I've opened the public hearing for this agenda item on the oversized vehicle ordinance. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand. And based on what I'm seeing right now, we'll go ahead and give each person 3 minutes, and you will hear a chime from the clerk at the end of your time. So once you hear that chime, I would ask everyone to please be respectful and go ahead and wrap up. So, clerk, can we go ahead and move on to public testimony? Each person will have 3 minutes. Please identify yourself, and first person can go ahead.
You're on the line.
Thank you very much. This is Rafa Sonnenfeld. I'm speaking on behalf of myself this evening. As a former member of the Community Advisory Committee on Homelessness, I think I know as well as anyone, what went through the processes of developing recommendations for the city's policies on homelessness. And safe parking programs, I think, are a good supplement and a good option for the city to be taking up. I think the city should be supporting safe parking programs, but not at the expense of the folks who can't access those services. And the criminalization, in particular, the aspects of the oversized vehicle ordinance that make it more challenging for folks to access services, to get housing, are really counterproductive. I'm disappointed, excuse me, that the city decided to go down that path. We've heard from the ACLU tonight why it's incredibly flawed, and frankly, this just feels like a big wasted energy because we're going to end up in court and it's going to be struck down, and we could be focusing on solutions that are actually moving us forward. So I think we should, cut the losses, cut the staff time. I recognize that there's politics at the city council that will come into play, and it'll probably be appealed anyway. But I think this body can be the voices of reason in this conversation, and for the purposes of the parking, street parking aspects of this permit, I suggest that you don't approve those aspects. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next caller, you have 3 minutes. Please identify yourself and go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
My name is Logan Haug. I'm a student at UC Santa Cruz, and I speak to you tonight as a member of the Student Housing Coalition. I urge you to appeal the oversized vehicle ordinance. This ordinance will criminalize houselessness through its vague language. Regardless of whether it's a parking ticket or a misdemeanor charged through the police, houseless persons are extremely vulnerable. In fact, some of the most vulnerable members of our society in Santa Cruz. We need to stop criminalizing the houseless and begin a services first-based approach instead of approving this hurtful ordinance that will only perpetuate the cycle of houselessness and saddle needless financial burden on our most vulnerable members of society. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Michelle.
Hello, everyone, and good evening. My name is Michelle. I'm a first-year student at UC Santa Cruz, and I'm with the Student Housing Coalition. I'm here asking you to support the ACLU and Santa Cruz Cares appeal of the oversized vehicle ordinance. So firstly, I'd like to say I support a services-based approach to homelessness in Santa Cruz. Speaking personally, one of my friends and a personal role model of mine had experienced homelessness during his second year at UC Santa Cruz. He cites that time as the most frightening and stressful time of his life, as he had to maintain both his studies and a part-time job while living in extremely dangerous and unstable conditions. During that time, sheltering in an RV in the city would have been a welcome alternative to the situation he was truly in, and it saddens me to see that for others, that possibility may be outlawed and likely aggressively penalized by the oversized vehicle ordinance. Finding those who can afford fixed housing or a stable lifestyle, even going so far as to assign a misdemeanor for miscellaneous garbage that is found around an RV, all with an absence of a substantial effort to provide public services like garbage collection or safe parking spaces, is a misguided approach to solve homelessness. As previously stated, we need to adopt a services-first approach without the threat of criminalization for our most vulnerable members of our county. I believe that the board would agree that imposing financial burdens and impounding the homes people rely on is not an efficient, nor is it even an efficacious way to combat homelessness. It simply perpetuates the cycle that causes homelessness and frankly wastes county resources by chasing after homeless people, slapping a Band-Aid over an issue rather than alleviating it, pushing them to the fringes of our society and going so far as to treat their bodies and belongings as pollution is not a line we should cross. I support preventing the OVO from receiving a permit to be enforced in this coastal zone and urge you to side with the ACLU and Santa Cruz Cares appeal. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Michelle. Go ahead and go to the next person. Go ahead. Go ahead, Zenon.
Hi, thank you. My name is Denon Elliott Crow. I'm the president of the Student Housing Coalition coming out today to speak against this. And I always wanted to go ahead and talk about the personal connection as students from UC Santa Cruz. As you just heard, someone who knew a friend who was living out of their vehicle called it the hardest time of their lives. And even I personally know people that are living out of their vehicles who can't afford a place to live. 9% of UC Santa Cruz students are homeless. It's a crisis, and we see many, many students living out of their vehicles, and we see that with this ordinance that there could be a lot of harm to those constituencies, those people that are trying to study, trying to better themselves with a UC education. We see that this is a really important part of their lives, and if they don't have a home, how are they supposed to go through school? How are they supposed to graduate? And so when we talk about this policy and we talk about bringing it to a broader picture, the talks about reform of the criminalization of people who shouldn't be criminalized, who should be helped, this is a policy that does not belong in this era of social change, in this era where we've looked at policies of past that have harmed, our society as a whole. And so when I look to this and I look to see where we should be going, I don't think this is the way we should be going, and that's why I strongly encourage you guys to go ahead and deny the permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Zenon. Go ahead and go to the next caller. Go ahead and identify yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Bodhi Shargel. Thank you for hearing everyone's public comment. I'm a UCSD student. I'm a lifelong Santa Cruz County resident. I'm here with the Student Housing Coalition as well as the Santa Cruz chapter of the YDSA. I support the appeal of the oversized vehicle ordinance. Being barred from fixed housing, as well as homelessness in general, are categorically human rights violations. I don't like that. I don't want homelessness to exist. But criminalizing those experiencing homelessness does not in any way, shape, or form help the situation. Banning RVs just forces people into smaller cars or other worse options. And we can do a lot of things to fix these problems, but the oversized vehicle ordinance is not one of them. Santa Cruz is in desperate need of affordable housing. Santa Cruz is in desperate need of social services for those experiencing homelessness. Santa Cruz is not in desperate need of a law banning people living in RVs. And we can devote the resources that we are devoting to criminalizing homelessness to a lot of much better things. And I hope that those of you on the commission can agree with me on that. and appeal or repeal the oversized vehicle ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead. The next caller, you identify yourself and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Adrienne. I am a fourth generation Santa Cruz resident. I'm currently living along the levee, and I do have to say that after this OVO ordinance went into effect, the living along the levee got a lot nastier. And I personally don't want folks feeling the need to come rifle around in my backyard and finding somewhere to sleep behind a bush or behind my car, behind my belongings. Alongside that, it is undoubtedly cruel. You guys seem to want to argue whether or not this is criminalization, but kicking someone out of somewhere that is warm and somewhere that has shelter and putting them out again when it was raining and making them sleep in the tent and in the dirt is cruel. That's not the kind of place that I want to live, and I don't think that that is connecting with how folks that live here and have lived here for generations want to see their community going. So again, I would like to advise you guys accept the appeal. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We'll go ahead and go to the next caller. Go ahead and identify yourself and you have 3 minutes.
Hello, yes. My name is Joseph Thompson. I'm here representing the Young Democratic Socialists of America chapter in Santa Cruz, along with a student housing coalition. And lastly, I'm leading the charge of the unionization at our local Starbucks. I come to you guys today to ask you guys to accept the accept ACLU and Santa Cruz's CARES appeal to the oversized vehicle ordinance. My main purpose against this is when I was working at my Starbucks location, we had a regular who would come in, very nice man. He just come in, sit down, order his coffee, and never had any problems with him. And one day I was talking with him, and he told me that he was homeless, and I had no idea. And he then told me that he was living out of his car. He had served in the military, and he had no other choice. And since this ordinance has been passed, I haven't seen him since. And it's heartbreaking to hear the impact of this on normal people who are just trying to get by, who have been let down by our society time and time again. And I hear the people in this community who are experiencing the issues of homelessness, who aren't homeless and are having to deal with the impact, like as the previous speaker just said about, rustling around their backyard. And I understand that. But the idea that we are, instead of giving them services and allowing them to, continue living in this beautiful city, and instead, choosing to criminalize them, poverty is a policy choice. And when it comes down to the end of the day, we need to be helping these people instead of further criminalizing them. As another speaker said, 9% of UC students are homeless, and they're living out of their vehicles, living out of their cars, and some of them could even be on the street. These are regular people trying to get an education, trying to live their lives, and we need to be protecting them. And obviously, with this ordinance, not only is it completely unlawful and goes against all the values that we should have in society, but it really is dehumanizing towards homeless people, because it continues this narrative that they're less than the average person. They're the exact same as me. They're the exact same as every single human being, because we're all the same when it comes down to it. It doesn't matter if you have a house, a mansion. You're the exact same person. And when you order a cup of coffee, doesn't matter who you are. You're just getting a cup of coffee. And I hope that you guys deny the ordinance, keep going, and really just stand with the Santa Cruz people who are here tonight and fighting for this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We'll go ahead and go to the next speaker. Please identify yourself and you have 3 minutes. Go ahead, speaker. Are you on the line? Savannah, we can't hear you if you're speaking. Okay, let's go ahead and put Savannah back in the queue, and then we'll go to the next speaker and come back around to Savannah. Okay, speaker, you're on the line. Go ahead. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. My name's Serge Pagno of Stepping Up Santa Cruz. I was a member of the Catch and have helped run some of our homeless shelters. I've consulted with the county in setting up the vet hall shelters and the Project Room Key. I also will admit that I live in my vehicle and I am affected by the ordinance as well. Tonight's question is focused on giving permits for the OVO. The question is not whether the ordinance is compassionate or not. The question is not whether it's effective to housing people or not. One question that you have to decide is whether the Coastal Act allows for limiting access to the coastal zone. The staff mentioned tonight that he feels it does not limit access to the coastal zone because there are some beaches that are closed at night. But the issue is about low-income people who can't cross the city. I have helped run some of the shelters in town, and I've often heard people not being able to cross town because of gas money. So being excluded from the coastal zone at night would limit access for them during the coastal zone during the day. Another question, as you're deciding whether to give permit for this ordinance, is whether the ordinance is legally written. One aspect of it, which has been mentioned tonight, is about trash around vehicles and being able to cite people, even though there's no proof that they are the ones who put the trash out. So I think that that's simply just not legally defendable. For your question tonight about giving a permit for this, I suggest that you do not give permit for this until the city finds a different way to deal with those who are low income, those who are not comfortable or feel safe to be part of programs, and until the city also has more programs and more options for people. Forcing people into programs is not a effective way of solving this problem. The different ways of solving it, whether mobile services or having more options available, should come before giving this permit for the ordinance. Thank you for your time and stay safe.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, we'll go back and try Savannah. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, can you guys hear me now?
Absolutely.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right, thanks so much. My name's Savannah. I'm a first year at UCSD, also affiliated with the Student Housing Coalition. And I'm asking the council to support ACLU and Santa Cruz Cares appealing the OVO. I come from San Diego and have personal experience with a family living out of their RV. It was a teen that went to high school with me, their 2 parents, and their cats. And even though they were a subpopulation that was typically given first access to safe parking and like other resources, these are all temporary and very limited and hard to achieve. So they were still largely dependent on themselves and were forced to like do their best to work around laws in order to protect their safety and the little security they had left. Government systems need to work with their unhoused populations, and this can't be done by punishing them for like their own plight, by imposing fines and attributing their belongings as like a nuisance. Saddling further financial burdens and impounding their homes along with their possessions perpetuates the cycle of homelessness. And so that's why I support preventing the OVO from receiving a permit. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for your comment. We'll go ahead and go to the next caller. Please identify yourself and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Laz Myman. I'm with the Student Housing Coalition. And honestly, I understand a lot of the frustrations that homeowners are feeling. I mean, people work hard to own their homes and they want safe neighborhoods. However, this ordinance is not at all the right way to go about ensuring a safe community. Criminalizing people and dehumanizing them is not a means of opening community dialogue between housed and unhoused people. And simply slapping fines and misdemeanors on people is not going to solve this problem. The homelessness issue in California is deeply rooted in a lot of different things. And frankly, it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. And so just having, an ordinance like this is not going to solve it. It's just going to shift the issue to somewhere else. And it's just going to move an issue from one place to another. So frankly, I think that we should work on seeing the humanity in people that are living in their RVs and understand that we can work together as a community to build a dialogue and to move forward and do it through ways that aren't criminalization and ways that are building up and using compassion as a means of actually addressing the deep-seated issues behind homelessness and behind living in oversized vehicles. So I urge the Commission to accept the appeal. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Moving to the next caller, go ahead and identify yourself, caller, and you will have 3 minutes.
Hi, this is Jasmine Nia. I am calling to urge you to please not issue the zoning permit for implementing OVO in coastal zones. I really love that the ACLU explained how this is indeed criminalizing. I feel like staff is going on a technicality that the parking ticket is not a criminal offense. But as many have said, people can receive misdemeanors and their homes can be taken away. That is a criminal act, in my opinion, by the city. It's also extremely cruel. Reggie, on behalf of Santa Cruz Cares, made excellent points. He even used the actual facts of city staff. Please note the fiscal impact of the safe parking programs, which have barriers to access anyways. I just did the math, and for $325,000 for 10% of the OVOs served, which would be 30 of them, 30 OVOs, that would be $10,833 a year per vehicle. For the $21,000 of providing services for 40%, that's 120 vehicles. That's $175 per vehicle. So that's a huge difference and a big savings to bring services to where the people are. So you can see that the city has a narrative based on bias and discrimination. If what we care about as a city is to lift each other up and act with compassion and humanity, we would provide services to people where they are. When it comes to people's discomfort with those arguments about public nuisances and things versus other people's survival, there should be no hesitation as to whom to support. And may I add something about the arguments I hear in the written documents regarding environmental effects? We talk about impact on wildlife and monarchs. Are you aware of the implication here? People don't matter as much as wildlife? The city is so worried about protecting wildlife. What about protecting our fellow Santa Cruzans? It's outrageous. It is shocking to me that this is even up for consideration. Again, I urge you to take a stand and do the right thing. Do not issue this permit. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We'll go to the next caller. Go ahead and identify yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes, please.
Hi, my name is Erica Aiton. I have a business in Santa Cruz and a home as well. I also support the ACLU's appeal. According to the ACLU, the oversized vehicle ordinance is unconstitutional, and it goes against the Disability Rights Act. To help the city with the ordinance is to subject not only the city but all of us to yet another lawsuit that we will lose. That alone should be enough for you to deny the permit. But also on the human side, I support more practical and respectful solutions as outlined by Santa Cruz Cares, for example, today and many times before. Please don't waste even more money on lawsuits we can't win. Deny the permit and do the right thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to the next caller. Please identify yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes.
I think it's important that, if you didn't already say that, people do not have to identify themselves to speak to this commission. Perhaps you said it at the beginning, but I think it should be made clear if there are any other speakers. There seems to be overwhelming testimony against this ordinance. I don't mind identifying myself. My name is Robert Norris, and I'm with HUF, Homeless United for Friendship and Freedom. The real question is, will the powers that be, the council and the police, actually pay any attention to the overwhelming majority of testimony that gets presented, even if you do? They didn't in terms of defunding the police, and they haven't in terms of, I think, the actual ordinance discussions, although there was quite a number of voices raised in that regard, well-organized voices on the right. The problem is bigotry masquerading itself, which is a form of hypocrisy. It's sad that the staff, as it usually does, aligns itself with a thinly disguised ordinance designed to reassure those who want to run the visible poor out of town while bombing their consciences with the illusion that resources are being provided. Now, this struggle has gone on for years, and it's likely to continue. If the Planning Commission does refuse to rubber stamp this law, it will likely, as was the case, find itself reversed by the City Council, as it was in the case of Alicia Cool. Folks will have to continue to put their voices and their bodies on the line to resist what is likely to be an increasing crackdown. It's obvious the answer to homelessness is housing and not to strip folks of their vehicles for parking without a permit. However, for those concerned about property values, inflated with a sense of privilege, empowered with outside funding to strike down rent control and to recall progressive council members and to ignore public comment, that makes little difference. So what does this mean? It means you must appear in numbers. I'm talking to the people who are speaking today, as well as any sympathetic members of the Planning Commission. You appear in numbers when tow trucks appear or when police begin sweeping folks off the levee without adequate alternatives, as they did today, March 3rd, to those on the levee, or embarrassing politicians and city bureaucrats who pander to this kind of attack on poor people in whatever forums they frequent. That's how you begin to make some changes here. This process is kind of like a pantomime play when we all give our testimony and we're all ignored. It's a really serious problem. And of course, I've given you elaborate, different kinds of reasons why I took this to the Coastal Commission in 2016, and I won the appeal. There have not been any other appeals, as far as I know. That's why the Maine and Cal Beach closures were actually granted, because they never got appeals to the Coastal Commission itself that I heard of. So let's not be misled by staff claims. And I would say it's the community here that has to act. Although we're using the Planning Commission as an opportunity, and I urge the Planning Commission to also show the right face here and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, I just want to say that I do take Mr. Norris's point, and I do want to be clear. We ask you to identify yourself when you speak, but you can choose not to do that. So let's go ahead and go to the next caller. Caller, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Hi, so my name is Isadora, and I'm a student at UCSC. I'm with the Student Housing Coalition and the YDSA. I actually moved to Santa Cruz recently, so I can really attest to how difficult it is, especially for students, to find housing that is actually affordable. And I sympathize a lot with students who can't afford the housing and have to live in their cars. I really think there are better alternatives and better things that could be done with, the time of the city than the oversized vehicle ordinance, which really just makes life harder for people who are already struggling. I urge the council not to go forward with the oversized vehicle ordinance. And to just look into alternatives that can be done. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, clerk, I'll go ahead and give one more, few more seconds to see if anybody else would like to raise their hand and speak before I close the public hearing. It looks like some hands are coming up. So let's go ahead and go to the next speaker, please. Go ahead, speaker, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, thank you for taking my call. My name is Carol Polhamus, and I'm on the steering committee of Westside Neighbors. Westside Neighbors was founded in 2019 based on this very issue, which was one city council member's proposal to allow overnight RV parking on Delaware Avenue on the Lower West Side. Westside Neighbors sent you a several-page rebuttal, which I'm not sure you had a chance to read, but there were 796 pages in this report, and 500 of them were emails previously received by people, mostly on the Lower West Side, appealing to you to help and the City Council to help us find ways to mitigate the problems that the West Side has experienced with a large number of overnight vehicles parking on city streets. Ironically, we agree with Santa Cruz Cares in this way. We think that people need services. We believe that the overnight vehicle ordinance, if you read the whole thing, I'm sure you did, but I'm not sure some of the callers did, will see that there is a proposal to provide services for people and to consolidate services in a way that is most cost effective and also most helpful for county services as well as sanitation services. This is not about criminalizing people. It is about not allowing city neighborhoods to become unsanctioned RV parks, which has created a lot of problems. Those are also documented in the staff report from the city staff earlier in the process of the OVO. We're asking you to deny the appeal. We're asking you to uphold the City Council's attempt at regulation to help people to move into safe spaces parking. We know that the city is coming up with more and more places for people to park, which will be revealed next week. And we're asking you to support the city neighborhoods and the people who need help both with services and with having their city streets not become or not continue to be RV parks without services. Thank you for listening. Good night.
Thank you for your comments. We'll go ahead and go to the next caller. Caller, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, Vera Filippini here. Though I'm involved in many local community organizations, I'm representing only myself and my own views tonight on this subject. I find the many concerns of the local communities experiencing these parked oversized vehicles very compelling, and I think they should be recognized, and they are of real concern. However, I can't find any concern that does not have a corresponding law already in place that I would see as not being implemented adequately or in sometimes actually discriminatorily implemented on certain people unfairly. On top of that, it seems that what the city staff is actually putting in front of you, sorry, my cat is making a lot of noise in the background, are a couple of justifications, one of which being that the oversized vehicle ordinance and issuance of the associated permit does not criminalize the homeless. However, it absolutely creates a ticketing and potential towing structure that is, in fact, the definition of a criminal act in that it is a violation of a local law that has a definable consequence. On top of that, they also say an entire other category of their justification for this permit they want to put through is that it doesn't eliminate coastal access. And they give you a whole bunch of examples of local state parks and areas along Westcliff in which you're not allowed to park during certain hours of the night. However, that is for all sized vehicles. What they're doing with this oversized vehicle ordinance is, in effect, creating a discriminatory act against the people who are dependent on living in their oversized vehicles, but allowing anyone in a normal sized vehicle to park in these locations. I think that there are so many humane issues with this. And I do think that also the people who have issue with some of the concerns around the current pattern of where some of these oversized vehicles are collecting, those are real too. We have better solutions and ones that are humane and ones that do not criminalize these people. We need to create avenues of service and working together and recognizing that this is part of our community and listening to what they actually have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do last call and to go ahead and put your hands up, and then I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Okay, I'm seeing one. Last call, and whatever hands are up after I call last call here, that'll be it. So we're going to go ahead and go with Lisa is going to be our last speaker for the public hearing. Lisa, go ahead and you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I'll be very quick. So I'm just calling as a local downtown business owner, and I'm asking you to uphold the appeal and please reject the oversized vehicle ordinance. Many of our regulars and my personal friends live in vehicles, and criminalizing their shelter is simply cruel and discriminatory. You've heard many clear and compelling points tonight to protect this community, so I really hope that you will listen to them. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, and thank everybody in the public for attending and for your comments. And with that, I will go ahead and close the public hearing.